The word whoops left the human's mouth far too casually, drifting through the command deck of the exploration vessel Horizon like a harmless joke. The alien delegates watching through the hololink did not laugh. Their translators froze for half a second as if reality itself needed time to process the sound. Because in known galactic history, that particular tone only appeared in two contexts: catastrophic error or deliberate provocation. Captain Elias Grant leaned back in his chair, coffee floating gently beside him in zero gravity, eyes locked on, the warning lights blooming across the console, red glyphs cascading like falling stars. The ship had just exited slip space 3 light minutes inside restricted territory, directly above the throne world of the Valorian Combine. On the holo display, the Valorian high speaker stiffened, his crystalline mandibles clicking an alarm. Fleet scrambled below, defense arrays powered up. Ancient weapons that had cracked moons now aimed at a single human ship. "You have violated sovereign space," the high speaker hissed, his voice layered with harmonic threat. "State your final intention." Elias squinted at the readout, scratched his beard, and sighed softly. Whoops. That was when every Valorian commander went silent, because their archives remembered that sound, whispered from battlefield survivors, etched into black boxes recovered from dead systems, a word spoken right before physics bent, and wars ended. Deep within the horizon, the ship's artificial intelligence began unlocking sealed protocols. Not because Elias had ordered it, but because human language carried subtext machines had learned to fear. Whoops meant something had already gone wrong for someone else. Outside the ship, space-time rippled, invisible at first, then shimmering like heat over steel. The Valorian scanners screamed impossible readings, energy levels rising from nothing, as if the universe itself had inhaled sharply. "High speaker," one of the Valorian admirals whispered, "we are detecting pre-ignition signatures. Human class, unknown." Elias finally sat up straight, eyes narrowing. That should not be doing that yet. The alien council heard the second warning too late. Asterisks across Valorian space. Alarms howled, ancient bells and modern sirens blending into one sound of collective panic. The human ship had not fired a single weapon, yet reality around it was misbehaving. Gravity vectors twisted, timestamps distanced, and distant stars flickered like faulty lights. The high speaker struggled to maintain authority. "Human captain, explain this phenomenon immediately." Elias raised his hands placatingly. "Look, this is probably just a calibration error. Happens all the time." "Calibration," the Valorian repeated, choking on the word. "Our entire defense grid is destabilizing behind." Elias, a junior officer, whispered, "Sir, the contingency drive is spooling on its own." Elias winced. "Yeah, that's the whoops part." The Valorians did not understand humor the way humans did. Their species evolved without irony. Every statement was either truth or threat. And whoops translated poorly across cultures, roughly meaning unintended activation of overwhelming force. The historians remembered the siege of Karos, where a human engineer dropped a wrench, muttered whoops, and accidentally inverted a star's fusion cycle, ending a 1,000-year war in under a minute. Valorian admirals argued in rapid clicks and light pulses, some demanding immediate annihilation, others begging for de-escalation, none agreeing. On Horizon, the AI spoke calmly. "Captain, probability of catastrophic cascade is rising. Recommendation, allow it to finish." Elias stared at the display, showing a miniature model of space folding inward. "If we stop it now," he murmured, "it might tear a hole clean through the continuum." "So you let it run?" the Valorian high speaker demanded in horror. Elias shrugged. "Sometimes, the safest thing is to let the universe finish tripping over itself." The ripple expanded, touching the outer defense ring. Every Valorian weapon went dark simultaneously, not destroyed, simply disconnected from causality, as if they had never been built. In their place appeared silence. Not peace, not surrender. Just the quiet realization that the humans had not come to conquer. They had come to fix something. They had broken by accident, and the word whoops echoed through Valorian history once more. Asterisk news traveled faster than light when fear pushed it. Across relays and psychic beacons, the message spread. A human said, "Whoops." Systems bordering Valorian space shut their borders. Empires recalled fleets. Warlords suddenly discovered religion. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. A chamber older than most civilizations. Its walls engraved with the names of extinct species who had underestimated humanity. A dozen representatives spoke at once until the archivist raised a limb for silence. "The word has been confirmed." It was spoken clearly and without apology. A murmur rippled through the council. They debated the semantics, whether whoops implied negligence, or inevitability. Scholars argued it was a ritual acknowledgement of irreversible momentum. Generals argued it was a warning disguised as humility. Meanwhile, Horizon drifted calmly above the Valorian world, the anomaly stabilizing into something almost elegant. A pocket of rewritten physics that gently untangled centuries of aggressive infrastructure. Shipyards became museums, weapons platforms became inert sculptures. Ilias floated near the viewport, watching continents below. You know, he said softly, they'll be safer like this. The AI agreed. Hostilities reduced to statistical zero. However, long-term cultural shock is expected. Back on the council, a final decision was reached. No retaliation, no escalation. Formal apology to humanity for being in the way of their mistake. An envoy was dispatched immediately, carrying gifts, treaties, and one carefully rehearsed sentence. When they reached Horizon, the Valorian High Speaker bowed low. Hugh and Elias Grant, on behalf of the Combine. We acknowledge your whoops. Elias smiled tiredly. Yeah, sorry about that. That apology carried more weight than any threat, because everyone in the galaxy understood now. When a human says whoops, history has already changed. The anomaly faded slowly, like a scar healing across the stars. Valorian space reconnected to the wider galaxy, fundamentally altered but intact. No worlds destroyed, no lives lost, just an empire forced to redefine itself overnight. On the horizon, the crew finally exhaled, tension draining from their shoulders. Someone started a quiet laugh that spread through the deck. Sir, the junior officer said, should we log this as an incident or a success? Elias considered that, scratched his beard again. Log it as a learning experience. Galactic media struggled to describe what happened. Headlines avoided the word whoops entirely. Analysts preferred phrases like spontaneous human corrective event. But the public knew the truth. Children on distant worlds began using whoops in their games, pretending to reshape imaginary galaxies. Parents shushed them nervously. The Galactic Council issued new guidelines. If humans say whoops, cease all hostile action and observe from a safe distance. Elias filed his report with Earth Command. Brief and honest. Accidental incursion. Minor reality fluctuation. Situation resolved. The response came hours later. Acknowledge. Try not to do that again. Horizon set course for home, slipping back into normal space, leaving behind legends and a newly cautious galaxy. As the stars stretched into lines, Elias lifted his coffee, finally taking a sip. Still warm, still good, he muttered. Years later, historians would argue whether whoops was humanity's greatest weapon or its greatest flaw. Philosophers debated intent versus consequence. Poets wrote verses about small words in big universes. The Valorian Combine rebuilt itself as a cultural power rather than a military one, crediting their survival to a human mistake. Elias retired quietly, teaching navigation to cadets who listened wide-eyed to his stories, always asking the same question. Did you really just say whoops? He always laughed at that. Yeah, but you have to mean it. Across the galaxy, the word became sacred and feared, a reminder that humans did not always control the forces they unleashed, but they always took responsibility afterward. And somewhere, in the endless dark, between stars, the universe itself seemed to remember, flinching slightly whenever a human voice casually said, whoops, because it knew what came next.